Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanantari Yamuna Tira Vanantari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana Jamana Tira Vanantari Jamuna Tira Vanantari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe, Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa, Sri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satta, Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Shirabai Charanarvind Bhakti Raghava Swami, Sri Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Skandiviti, Founder Acharyas, Divine Grace, Sri Prabhupada ki, Namacharya, Sri Haridas Thakur ki, Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Nitai Gaura Pimarande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada ki. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksuranmiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadasi Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jita Palakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Shyam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Svam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitam Scha Hai Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Taptakantana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vansakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nastapraya Sabhadreshu Nitya Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Tamasloke. Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiti.
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama.
Idam Bhagavatam Nama.
Puranam Brahma Samhitam.
Puranam Brahma Samhitam.
Uttama Shloka Charitam.
Uttama Shloka Charitam.
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi.
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi.
Nishreyasaya Lokasya.
Nishreyasaya Lokasya.
Dhanyam Swasyayanam Mahat.
Dhanyam Sastayanam Mahat.
The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya,
Shri Krishna Chaitanya.
Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda.
Sri Advaita Gadadhara,
Sri Advaita Gadadhara.
Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta
Sri
Vrinda,
Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vatanam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our morning class. Continuing from Canto number 1, chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely. And today we're reading 47 and 48 combined together. Yes. Tad dhyano driktaya bhaktya vishuddha dheshana pare tasmin narayana pade ekanta matayo gatim avapur duravapam te asadbhir vishayatmabhi vidhutha kalmasha stanam virajinat manaiva hi tad dhyanodritaya bhaktya vishuddhadheshana pare
Vishuddhadeshanah pare
tasmin narayana pade
Tasmin narayana pade
ekanta matayo gatim
Ekanta matayo gatim
vapur durvapam te
Avapur durvapamte
asadbhir vishayat mabhi
Asadbhir vishayatmabhi
visutta kalmasa stanam
Vidhuta kalmashasthanam
virajenat manaivahi
Virajenatmanaivahi
tad dhyano bhaktya
Tadhyanayo driktaya bhaktya
vishuddhadeshana pare
Vishuddhadeshanah pare
tasmin narayano pade
Tasmin narayana pade
ekanta matayo gatim
Ekanta matayo gatim
avapur durvapamte
Avapur durvapamte
asadbir vishayat mabhi
Asadbhir vishayatmabhi
vidhutta kalmasastanam
Vishuddha kalmashasthanam
virajenat manaivahi
Virajenatmanaivahi
tadadhyanodriktaya bhaktya
Tadhyanayo driktaya bhaktya
vishuddhadhishana pare
Vishuddhadeshanah pare
tasmin narayana pade
Tasmin narayana pade
ekanta matayo gatim
Ekanta matayo gatim
avapur durvapamte
Avapur durvapamte
sadbhir vishayat mabhi
Asadbhir vishayatmabhi
vidhutta kalmasastanam
Vidhuta kalmashasthanam
virajenat manaivahi
Virajenatmanaivahi
तथ्यानोद्विष्टया भक्त्या
tadhyanodirtaya bhaktya
विशुद्धभीषणः परे
vishuddhadishana pare
तस्मिन्नारायणोत्पदे
tasmin narayana pade
एकान्तमतयो गतिम्
ekanta matayo gatim
अवापुर्दुरवापान्ते
avapur durvapamte
असद्भिर्विषयात्मभिः
asadbhir vishayat mabhi
विद्युतकर्मशास्थानम्
vidhutta kalmasastanam
विरजेनात्मनैवहि
virajenat manaivahi
Tadhyana bhaktya
tadhyanodirtaya bhaktya
Vishuddhadeshanah pare
vishuddhadhishana pare
Tasmin narayana pade
tasmin narayana pade
Ekanta matayo gatim
ekanta matayo gatim
Avapur durvapamte
avapur durvapamte
Asadbhir vishayatmabhi
asadbhir vishayat mabhi
Vidhuta kalmashasthanam
visutta kalmasastanam
Virajenatmanaivahi
virajenat manaivahi.
तदध्यानोदित्तया भक्त्या
तद्ध्यानोदित्तया भक्त्या
विशुद्धधीषणा परे
विशुद्धाधीशनः परे
तस्मिन्नारायण पदे
तस्मिन्नारायणपदे
एकान्तमतयो गतिम्
एकान्तमतयो गतिम्
अवापूर्दुर्वापान्ते
अवापोदुर्वपन्ते
असिद्धिर्विषयात्मभिः
असद्भिर्विषयात्मभिः
विधूतकल्मषास्थानम्
विधुत्तकल्मषस्थानम्
विरजेनात्मनैव हि
विरजेनात्मनैव हि तत् that dhyana positive meditation utriktaya being freed from bhaktya by a devotional attitude vishuddha purified dhishanaha by intelligence pare unto the transcendence tasmin in that narayana the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna
The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna
pade unto the lotus feet
unto the lotus feet
ekanta mataya of those who are fixed in the Supreme,
those who are fixed
in the Supreme,
who is one.
who is one.
Gatim,
Gatim,
destination,
Destination,
avapuhu,
Avapuhu,
attained,
attained.
duravapam,
Durvapam,
very difficult to obtain,
very difficult to attain.
te,
They,
by them,
by them,
asadhi,
Asadhi,
by the materialists,
by the materialists.
vishaya atmabhi,
Vishayatmabhi,
absorbed in material needs,
absorbed in material needs.
vidhutta,
Viduta,
washed off,
washed off.
kalmasha,
Kalmusha,
material contaminations,
material contaminations.
stanam,
Sthanam,
abode,
abode.
virajena,
Virajena,
without material passion,
without material passion.
atmana eva,
Atmana eva,
by the self same body,
by the self-same body.
he
He,
certainly.
certainly.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Raghava Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. And thus, by pure consciousness, due to constant devotional remembrance, they attain the spiritual sky, which is ruled over by the Supreme Narayana, Lord Krishna. This is attained only by those who meditate upon the one Supreme Lord without deviation. This abode of the Lord Sri Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, it cannot be attained or cannot be attained by persons who are absorbed in the material conception of life. But the Pandavas, being completely washed of all material contamination, attain that abode in their very same bodies. Kindly repeat after me. Thus, by pure consciousness,
Thus, by pure consciousness,
due to constant devotional remembrances,
due to constant devotional remembrance,
they attained the spiritual sky,
They attain the spiritual sky,
which is ruled over
which is ruled over
by the Supreme Narayana,
by the Supreme Narayana,
Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna.
This is attained
this is attained
only by those
only by those
who meditate upon
who meditate upon
the one Supreme Lord
the one Supreme Lord
without deviation.
without deviation.
This abode of the Lord Sri Krishna,
This abode of the Lord Shri Krishna,
known as Goloka Vrindavan,
known as Goloka Vrindavan,
cannot be attained
Cannot be attained
by persons who are absorbed
by persons who are absorbed
in the material conception of life.
in the material conception of life.
But the Pandavas,
But the Pandavas,
being completely washed
being completely washed
of all material contamination,
of all material contamination,
attained that abode
attain that abode
in their very same bodies.
in their very same bodies.
Report. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, a person freed from the three modes of material quality, and namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, and situated in transcendence, can reach the highest perfection of life without change of body. Srila Sanatana Goswami, in his Hari Bhakti Vilas, says that a person, whatever he may be, can attain the perfection of a twice-born Brahmana by undergoing the spiritual disciplinary actions under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Exactly as a chemist can turn gun metal into gold by chemical manipulation. It is therefore the actual guidance that matters in the process of becoming a Brahmana, even without change of body, or in going back to Godhead without change of body. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks that the word he used in this connection positively affirms this truth, and there is no doubt about this factual position. The Bhagavad Gita 14:26 also affirms this statement by or of Srila Jiva Goswami, when the Lord says that anyone who executes devotional service systematically without deviation can attain the perfection of Brahman by surpassing the contamination of the three modes of material nature. And when the Brahman perfection is still more advanced by the self-same execution of devotional service, there is no doubt at all that one can attain the supreme spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, without change of body, as we have already discussed in connection with the Lord's returning to his abode without a change of body. Interesting concept. Prabhupada is referring to specifically here the Pandavas as well as Yudhishthira Maharaj, by fully absorbing themselves, by fully fixing their minds on the lotus feet of the Lord after leaving the palace, going to the Himalayas. They reached the final destination of returning to Goloka Vrindavan. Here it mentions without leaving, in their self-same body. There's a school of thought which is quite prominent. Prabhupada makes reference very often. The school of thought that upholds that unless one is born in a Brahmana family, one cannot become a Brahmana. One has to take birth again. There's that pastime during when Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. Some of the devotees had gone to one of the very well-known temples, which was overseen by some of the Goswamis coming in like family lineage, maybe 6, 7 young devotees. Some of them were sannyasis. Naturally, when we were in Vrindavan, like in Mayapur also, there are many temples, many holy places. many pastimes of the Lord. So devotees were visiting this one particular temple. I will not mention the name of the temple, but quite well-known temple. And they were having darshan of the Lord. They were very happy, and the pujari had noticed these young devotees, foreigners, and mostly they were from outside of India, and he had mentioned that Pujari that yes, it is very wonderful that you are practicing Krishna consciousness, devotional service. If you continue to nicely practice, then by the Lord's mercy, in your next birth, you'll have opportunity, possibly to worship the Lord. Devotees had conveyed this upon returning to the Krishna Balaram temple. Had conveyed that to Srila Prabhupada. Because in the early days, there was a kind of a stigma. Prabhupada was trying to introduce Krishna consciousness by bringing especially some of the foreign disciples, and there was some kind of animosity, some kind of uneasiness, even criticism that Prabhupada was criticized for bringing people from outside of the Vedic culture and giving them Brahmana Diksha and giving them sannyas, etc. like that. So when the devotees conveyed this particular anecdote, Prabhupada replied, because he could understand that they were the mentality that because you're not born in proper family, then you cannot actually, so you have to take birth again. So Prabhupada replied that you should have told that if you continue to serve nicely the deities, then in your next life, maybe you'll get opportunity to be born in the Hare Krishna movement. Prabhupada making the point that actually, just like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is mentioned, Krishna Bhakti Nitya Siddha, Sadhya Kabunoy Sravanadi Sudachite Kara Udoy. This Krishna Bhakti, it is Nitya Siddha, it is the eternal quality of all living entities. Not only those who are born at this particular place or in this particular family. All the jivas, that is their eternal nature. And the more we have this clear understanding, then when we see and interact with other living entities, we see them as devotees, isn't it? Even in the body of animals, in the body of trees, the life symptom means the presence of the jiva, the atma. And every living entity, even different demoniac persons, of which there are many in modern day society, they don't know, but they're all actually devotees. And it is in that kind of mood and consciousness that the followers of Lord Chaitanya are meant to introduce and induce, encourage people in different ways to take up to Krishna consciousness. So, so this analogy here is being made that in the same way, this is very rare, of course, the Pandavas, this is being explained here, because of their fully being absorbed in serving and remembering the Lord after leaving their situation in the royal palace. they didn't have to change body even to go back to the spiritual sky. Prabhupada is making that analogy or comparison that in the same way, we don't have to take birth again. We don't have to change our body to awaken our dormant Krishna consciousness. It is by the standard, and this is what especially the Goswamis of Vrindavan, they were deputed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to fully establish by Vedic references and all of the books written by the Goswamis are supporting this fact that anyone from any corner of the world who takes up to the recommended process, beginning with the chanting of the holy name, can become purified and can perform the various activities of any of the orders within society. So that is why also within the process or the system which has been more recently emphasized by our acharyas in terms of daiva varnasrama, that means that anyone, which was not the case before, this was the misunderstanding, and that's why to a large extent that misunderstanding is still prevalent today, that unless you're born in a particular family, you cannot make spiritual progress, etc. And as explained by our more recent acharyas, they have thrown some light on this. Anyone within the system of varnasrama, when such individuals are engaged in activities of devotional service, whether they are brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, or shudras, they can attain the perfectional stage. They can actually become pure devotees of the Lord. So this is in many ways a special contribution of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by introducing this process and this method, and supported by Shastra as presented by the Goswamis especially. So everyone is meant to take up the process of devotional service without having to change the body. What needs to be changed simply is the consciousness. We need to purify the consciousness. That is again and again nicely explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning with two main activities: hearing, Sinvatam Swakatha Krishna, Punya Sravana Kirtana. This will have as effect gradual purification, and by, of course, regular, constant association of devotees. Ideally, of course, in the temple we have more opportunity, but not everyone can live in a temple. Usually we can live in a temple in an ashram for a short time. Therefore the importance, and this is something that Prabhupada encouraged and very much wanted us to pursue, establishing Vaishnava communities where we can live with devotees, where we can have occupations that are more suitable for practicing our devotional service, which is not the case in modern day society today. And therefore the need, the importance to revive, to reintroduce, to reestablish what is meant to be, what has always been the norm being living the recommended, taking up the recommended lifestyle, which is described in the Shastra, which has been especially demonstrated by the residents of Vrindavan. So we can more easily, here there's mention of the Pandavas attaining Goloka Vrindavan. So we can more easily attain Goloka Vrindavan by living in a place like Vrindavan now. Yeah. So this is being explained here. Yeah.
Prabhupada mentioned that Jiva Goswami used this example of the Bhagavad Gita 14:26, which says that one who fulfills some conditions comes to the level of a Brahman. And understanding this word of Brahman and Brahma Bhuyayam, doesn't necessarily mean become spiritual as in body, but it could refer to the consciousness only, and the body could act according to the consciousness, but still remains like iron, but still act like spiritually.
Right.
So how we can understand is that in this case, in general cases, devotee's body don't become spiritual, but spiritualized, means utility of the body becomes spiritual, but the body itself remains under the control of the stream of nature. Because here we see that their body become spiritual body, like Narada's body becomes spiritual body previously.
Yes.
So there's a difference between the two.
I was reading one purport where at this point was being raised, the question was being put that we have so many examples in our Bhagavatam of many very exalted personalities, but who did not directly go back in their self-same body. So that was being addressed again. And we have to look at explanations given by our different acharyas. So I don't have the actual reference. It's in one of the purports of the Bhagavatam in connection with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the foremost commentators. He was explaining that, yes, although there are many other personalities, we only hear of a few, as you mentioned, like Narada, and then here the Pandavas, who are mentioned in the Bhagavatam as having returned to the spiritual world in their self-same body. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was, in his commentary, mentioning that if that happened too often, it would be too confusing for people. He was making that point. In other words, there are many more perfected living entities who could, who also we could say qualify, but who live out a seemingly ordinary life and go through the process of old age and disease. I mean, most people, even though they are very exalted personalities, I mean, our own founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, was till the very last moment totally fixed in clear in consciousness, but his body had become frail, had become diseased, and so for the vast majority, even of such exalted persons, the consciousness is totally intact, but the body seemingly goes through the natural, is influenced by the laws of nature, so to speak. That was the explanation or comment that was made by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Obviously, what is more important is the consciousness that one develops, regardless of the material condition, like Grandfather Bhishmadev also.
And we see examples like a mundane persons, not mundane, but some not necessarily spiritually advanced persons can change their body, like yogis can rejuvenate their body. It doesn't mean they become spiritually advanced. They become advanced in the yoga practice, like the technical part, and also like Hiranyakashipu got a perfect body, but his consciousness remained like against the God consciousness. So he was hating the thinking of there is a God existing, so the Supreme Person existing. So the body is, in this case, not necessarily shows the consciousness. So the consciousness is the main point. And I know another, because I'm a very materialistic person, so I'm thinking that if they don't change their body, then next time how they become child. So they have a child's body, like when little children they are, and then they're growing. It's part of the pastimes. As they grow, they show bodily changes. Yes, it could be like a pastime, but still looks like a simple changing of the body, but the consciousness becomes perfect because they are eternal associate of Krishna, and because this kind of body is helpful for their service. They have eternal service, so that I can understand that in this case they have these special pastimes. They keep their body and the body becomes spiritualized and then go to the spiritual world.
Yeah, it's like in Maharashtra. Tukaram, the story of Tukaram, right? Who was always absorbed in glorifying the Lord, and then he went back in his self-same body also. The Lord came with his Biman, and this was apparently, in front of, seen by common people also. Those are very rare and exceptional. What is more important or most important is the development of consciousness.
And I have another question about this becoming a Brahmana by this process which Prabhupada used like an initiation process which is preparing someone to become Brahmana. Also their nature is lower, not really high class. So we see that devotees acting like pujaris, like Brahmanas, but they are not fulfilling the whole qualities of the Brahmanas which we see in the explanation of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
So they do purify, they do very pure action in their life, but still some of the qualities of the Brahman doesn't appear for them, like they are not really expert in studying all the Vedas. Maybe they are pure devotees.
Right. Well, a few things. One is that Prabhupada mentions that was a whole during the time of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. That whole it was a major major issue, major concern between Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and that famous lecture given by, it was meant to be given actually by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but he was not well, and so Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had represented him. I think it was in Midnapur somewhere, some big debate, because the Smarta Brahmanas were critical of the Vaishnavas, and so in other words, when one is a actual practicing Vaishnava, he is meant to naturally and automatically develop qualities of Brahmana, although there might be certain features that are not fully manifest, but a Vaishnava, someone who is advanced Vaishnava, actual Vaishnava, then he will automatically display the good qualities of a Brahmana. So that is there. That's one thing. The other thing also is that we should understand that what is taking place now, since the time that Srila Prabhupada introduced Mahaprabhu's movement in the Western world, it was kind of a strategy because Prabhupada tried, as we know, he established like the League of Devotees, he preached in so many ways, but things only really happened in a major way when he left India, and when he was able to bring some of his Western disciples, which was a very clear and very strong message that, hey, you know, you people in India, you're forgetting your culture. People outside of India are taking it up, so you should also take it up like that. So the point I'm making is that we are going through what I would say an interim period. Interim period means it will take, Prabhupada did mention, it will take some few generations for things to really become established, where we will have people, regardless of what country they might be from, who will actually be displaying and showing all of these different qualities of as they are described in the Shastra regarding Brahmana duties and qualities, etc. like that. Same thing. It's like now for us is practically, we hear about Kshatriyas in the Shastra, but we don't see so many examples in modern day society.
If you put someone to the politics.
I mean, there's a lot of political activity going on.
Not so successful.
You're right, but yeah. So, but that you know, Prabhupada's expectation and his order was that not only we create a class of brahmanas, but we also create kshatriyas, and that we also create vaishyas, qualified vaishyas, all of which are qualities and what they are meant to do, etc. And in the purport here, the word which is, you know, very significant, very important, about what is it? Systematic. Where is it? Whoops. Yeah.
Bhakti Swami mentioned that you execute the devotees systematically without deviation.
Correct. So Prabhupada uses that word, that very word, in the first of 7 purposes of ISKCON, whereby he mentions that the very first objective or purpose of ISKCON is to systematically teach, you know, these sciences, this knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and that's why we have yet not properly understood that systematic in the context of Varnashrama Dharma means, as Prabhupada requested, an order to establish Varnashram College, where we introduce what is called Chaturvidya, the 4 standard Vedic sciences. And so in these 4 sciences, well, one of them is the science of Dandaniti, the science of politics, the science of governance, which includes so many different aspects, not only in terms of martial arts. Martial arts is part of that, but is not, you know, completely or complete in itself. So it's as the expression goes, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. It's, in many ways, we could say it is an amazing work in progress, because what we are endeavoring to do and what is actually taking place is very, in so many ways, very unusual or extraordinary, especially under the circumstances in which we're living, where there's so much of, you know, contamination and irregularities and so much of pollution all over the world at all levels. So somehow, amidst all of the chaos that is existing in the world today, there is, with all of the frailties and limitations and fall downs and deviations, etc., that are there, the pure message of the Bhagavatam is being introduced, and so many people are fortunate to come in contact with that knowledge, with that pure knowledge, and that will simply increase more and more, and that will, in due course of time, it's already taking place. So many changes, at least on individual basis. Just like recently means this. Yesterday, one article was circulated mentioning how the UP government, maybe you heard, it's quite, I think, recent news, has given one letter of intent for establishing, I believe in Vrindavan or close to Vrindavan, an ISKCON university for propagating, so much information that is there in terms of the Vedic culture and whatnot. I mean, that's, of course, the government in Uttar Pradesh is quite supportive and favorable. There are certain places, in India where, how many states now have a total ban on cow slaughter? Like Gujarat?
Yes, Gujarat, Maharashtra.
Maharashtra, yeah, correct.
Assam.
So a couple of, India has how many states? 25 or 30?
27 and 28 something.
27, 20, yeah, close to 30. So, I mean, even that one state, now is two states, have this type of, I mean, that eventually should be the standard for the whole of India. And that eventually should be the standard for the whole world, isn't it? So it is ongoing, yeah. Parthasarthi Prabhu,
Yes, Maharaj.
this makes any sense?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, okay. Yes.
Cow slaughter is banned or regulated in 20 out of 28 states.
Is banned or regulated in 20 out of 20?
Complete bans are in Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh,
Wow,
Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra.
complete ban.
9.
9, huh? Okay, we're doing better than I thought. Yeah, I mean, that's unthinkable outside of India. India is the land of dharma. It is meant to be showing by example, yeah. 9, okay, that's out of 20, 28, huh?
Yes.
28, yeah. Yeah. 1/3, close to 1/3. Okay. Jai Granth Rai Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.
His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj ki.
Jai Parthasarthi Prabhu ki. You are more regular than some of our